All right, let's get into it. Back in 1978, one single adventure module didn't just give players a hard time, it fundamentally rewired the DNA of Dungeons & Dragons itself. This is the story of G3, Hall of the Fire Giant King, and how its absolutely brilliant and brutal design created the game we all know and love today.
So forget a gentle on-ramp. Before you even kick in the door, this module is actively trying to kill you. And that's not just some flowery flavor text. The designer, Gary Gygax, literally drops you into Muspelheim, a volcanic wasteland where the environment itself is bleeding you dry, cranking up the tension from the very first step you take.
Okay, so here's the setup. You are part of an elite strike force. You have already smashed your way through the Hill Giant's fortress, and you've survived the Frost Giant's icy rift. Now you've finally tracked this whole conspiracy to its source, the absolutely hellish fortress of the Fire Giants. Your job isn't just to go in and kill everybody. You have to figure out who's really pulling the strings here. And right out of the gate, this module just throws the entire D&D rulebook into the fire. What Gygax did in just the first few rooms was nothing short of a masterclass in messing with player expectations and turning a simple raid completely on its head.
So, you've made it through the sulfurous wastes, and now you're standing in front of these enormous obsidian doors. Inside, the walls are covered with tapestries that show off brutal, bloody giant victories. The message couldn't be clearer. You are walking into a place of incredible power and martial pride.
The second you step inside, you're in the Grand Hall, and there's no welcome committee, just a couple of four-headed Ettins. Now with heads facing in every direction, sneaking is completely off the table. This is a straight-up brawl right at the front door. So you fought your way through the guards, you're already burning through spells and potions, your mind is probably racing, you're thinking about all the traps and monsters and levels you're gonna have to fight through to even get to the throne room. So, where's the big bad guy?
He's in room number 3? Yeah, not room 30, not at the bottom of some sprawling 50-level catacomb. The main boss, King Snurre Ironbelly himself, is basically waiting for you right past the lobby. And this is just pure design genius, because once you actually defeat the king, and believe me, that is a massive if, the adventure isn't over. No, it's just getting started. You're left standing in a gigantic multi-level fortress with one huge burning question. If he wasn't the mastermind, who is? The mission instantly changes from a simple assassination to a desperate search for intel.
So if the first lesson of this dungeon was about subverting expectations, the next one was all about paranoia. As you go deeper, the module teaches you a very, very hard lesson. In the Hall of the Fire Giant King, even the victims might be predators in disguise.
I mean, take the encounter with Obmi the dwarf. You find him in the prison area, and he's claiming to be a captive prince. He plays the part perfectly, begging you to help him get his magic gear back. But here's the thing. Obmi has been the king's personal advisor for 25 years. The second you hand him his gear, he turns on you with his magic hammer, aiming to crush you when you're at your weakest.
And get this wasn't just some theoretical trap. At the Origins IV tournament, where this module was first run, the literal winning team, we're talking the best players there, they fell for Obmi's trick completely. Hook, line, and sinker. It almost cost them the entire tournament. Gygax was actively training players to be suspicious of absolutely everything and everyone. So as you survive the giants and their so-called allies, you start to descend deeper into the fortress. And that's when the organized, militaristic evil of the upper levels just gives way to something far older, way stranger, and infinitely more dangerous. You know, the Fire Giant area, it makes sense. It's got barracks, kitchens, guard posts. It's a fortress, right? But as you go down, that logic starts to break down. The architecture gets weird. You find creatures that have absolutely no business being there. The whole vibe just shifts from a military campaign to something a lot closer to cosmic horror. And then you find this temple. The module's own text describes it as being filled with this disorienting, swirling purple light that makes it totally impossible to judge distance or time. This is not the work of giants. This is a huge sign that you've stumbled into the territory of a completely different and way more alien power. It all leads to the big reveal. The giants were never the real threat. They were just the muscle. The puppet masters were the Drow, the dark elves. Now, before this module, they were just a one-line entry in the monster manual. G3 suddenly thrust them onto center stage as the masterminds of this massive subterranean conspiracy, and that one decision changed the scope of D&D forever.
So, beyond all the shocking plot twists, G3 introduced mechanics and design ideas that were truly revolutionary for the time. It didn't just tell a great story, it fundamentally changed how stories were told in D&D.
So back in the day, players had perfected this tactic called the 15-minute adventuring day. The idea was, you'd go in, your wizard would blow every single fireball and lightning bolt they had in one big fight, and then everyone would just leave to go camp for the night. I mean, it's effective, but it totally kills the tension. Gygax absolutely hated it, and he basically designed this entire module to destroy that tactic.
Gygax's solution was this brilliant system he called responsive defense. The dungeon wasn't just sitting there waiting for you. It reacted to what you did. If you tried to retreat, the giants would put out all the torches and lights. If you came back for a second raid, they'd post sentries and use hit-and-run tactics. And if you kept it up, they'd send tracking parties out to find your camp and ambush you in your sleep.
This was an absolute game changer. The dungeon was no longer just a series of rooms with monsters waiting to be killed. It was a living, breathing enemy stronghold that learned from your attacks and adapted its strategy. It forced you into a war of attrition where every single decision had consequences that would come back to bite you.
And the end of G3 wasn't actually the end of the story. The discovery of the Drow conspiracy was actually a bridge to a whole new series of adventures, the D series, which sent players deep into the Underdark. And that then led to the Q series, where you literally travel to the Abyss to fight a demon queen.
This was the world's very first adventure path. G3 proved that Dungeons & Dragons could be so much more than just a collection of one-shot dungeon crawls. It could be a sprawling, interconnected epic, a single, massive story told across months or even years of play. And that, right there, is its ultimate legacy.
Which kind of leaves us with one last nagging question. Today's game has a lot of safety nets. Balanced encounters, powerful healing, the long rest mechanic. So how would a modern party actually do in this absolute meat grinder? Could they survive a dungeon that fights back, that learns their tactics, that never ever lets up? It's definitely something to think about.